Mail Online can now disclose that the abrupt departure of Gary Lineker from the BBC will upset the corporation's elite and save the license fee payer up to £1 million in 2026. After being fired for posting an anti-Semitic Instagram remark, the 64-year-old former football player now serves as host of Match of the Day for the last time tonight. Lineker, who was supposed to lead coverage of the 2026 World Cup and the FA Cup, will leave the BBC on Sunday. He would depart without receiving his £1.4 million annual salary, which made him the highest-paid employee of the company. According to a BBC insider who spoke to Mail Online, the company will save between £800,000 and £900,000 over the course of the following year if they move on Lineker early. Next year's rich list will look different with Ugan and Gary on his way, and the overall bill for our stars will be cheaper, they continued. Lineker will focus on his podcast Goal Hanger, which produces the shows The Rest is History, The Rest is Politics, and Rest is Football, which he co-hosts with Alan Shearer and Micah Richards. Additionally, he won't go hungry without his BBC pay because, according to reports released in February, his podcast empire, which was established in 2019, made an incredible £1.4 million profit last year. Assets increased within the past 12 months, as evidenced by accounts submitted to Companies House, which show that retained earnings increased by £1.4 million from £590,000 in 2023 to £2.03 million last year. Also, bank cash increased from £560,000 to £2.7 million. Last year, Lineker was one of three well-known figures at the top of the BBC's rich list to leave. Last year, Zoe Ball, who ranked second on the most current list with a £954,999 salary, resigned from her position as host of the BBC Radio 2 breakfast show. Additionally, BBC executives will save hundreds of thousands of pounds by replacing her with Scott Mills, who would receive a far lower salary. Ball, 53, is staying with the channel, but her decision to spend more time with her family by leaving its most prominent presenting slot was certain to have an impact on her pay. And Hugh Edwards, who was found guilty of having pornographic pictures of children and will never again appear on our television screens. With these actions, Radio 1 breakfast anchor Greg James may be on his way to being the highest-paid celebrity in the BBC, earning £419,999. However, Ball's replacement, Scott Mills, is probably going to receive a significant raise to his existing salary of £319,999. Prior to this, James was ranked 7th in 2023, but his salary jumped to £399,999, making him the fourth highest-paid celebrity at the BBC. Prior to this, James was ranked 7th in 2023, but his salary jumped to £399,999, making him the fourth highest-paid celebrity at the BBC. After replacing Mills as Radio 1's drive-time host in 2012, the 38-year-old rose to fame. In 2018, he transitioned to hosting Radio 1 Breakfast, replacing Nick Grimshaw. Additionally, he has presented other TV programs for the company, such as BBC Three Sun, Sex and Holiday Madness, and Unzipped. Question Time and BBC News presenter Fiona Bruce and Radio 5 Live presenter Stephen Nolan, who share fifth place and make up to £409,999 apiece, behind James on the BBC's 2024 talent pay estimates. Lauren Laverne, host of Desert Island Discs and Six Music, is in sixth place and one of four females in the top 10. Laverne was paid up to £399,999. Without a significant international football competition in 2023, Alan Shearer's salary dropped from as high as £449,999 to as low as £384,999, placing him sixth on the list. BBC breakfast host Naga Munchetty, whose salary increased somewhat to £349,999, came in ninth place alongside Nick Robinson, presenter of BBC Radio 4's Today program. According to the income numbers, the majority of the presenters on the list had wage increases between 2023 and 2024. Rita Chakraborty, who hosts BBC News, received a significant raise of up to £274,999, or almost £55,000. License fee payers had been incensed over Ball's pay arrangement. When it was discovered in 2020 that she was making £1.36 million, the ensuing uproar forced her to accept a voluntary £380,000 wage cut. At the time, the BBC stated that she believed it was improper to make so much money during the pandemic. According to sources, BBC executives have recently made the decision that the high six and even seven-figure wages that presenters used to get at the BBC should end. Zoe, their highest-paid radio star at the moment, makes £950,000 a year. When she hinted that she was considering leaving, they did little to convince her to stay. At the moment, 52-year-old Scott Mills makes a respectable £315,000 annually. Scott will receive a raise in pay for accepting the breakfast gig. It's the flagship role and it's very demanding, so he deserves it, a BBC source told Mail Online. However, it won't get him nearly as much as Zoe has been receiving. Even if she is a true BBC stalwart and well-liked by the management, the truth is that every chance to save a significant amount of money these days must be seized. This might result in annual savings of nearly £500,000. Zoe's salary has recently come under additional scrutiny despite having already taken a pay cut because it is near the top of the published salaries list, directly below people like Gary Lineker, who is also going. If she had outlived him, she would have been paid the highest salary in the company. They are rather happy that the next time they have to declare their presenter pay, it will appear much less extravagant since, when Scott starts, his money will be hundreds of thousands of pounds less per year than Zoe's was. In an effort to save money, the company said last month that it would be discontinuing several series, even though its greatest stars receive substantial salaries.